Hi everyone, I'm Victoria Gladstone, and today on Tori's Talk Show, I will be discussing coral bleaching with Peggy Gladstone.
Hi, I'm Peggy Gladstone. Thank you I'm so happy to be here tonight and join Tori on her talk show. I am a Hillsborough resident, Victoria's mom and mother of 3. I own a child care center, and many of my students are very interested in issues that affect the ocean.
So, the topic of discussion today is how the government and others are responding to coral bleaching.
Wow, that is very interesting. What is coral bleaching?
Well, let me tell you. Coral bleaching is when coral colonies lose their coloration due to a lack of algae around the
outer part of the coral?
Yeah, a part of the outer part. And when the ocean water is polluted or has a higher level of acidity or it's warmer, the algae tends to die.
Oh, that's terrible.
Yeah.
Why is this happening?
Well, the algae is dying due to the acidification and pollution and warming, and it's a big deal because millions of people rely on the corals for income, for food, for the ecosystem it creates with fish, and it also is a big tourist attraction that many people find an income off of.
Well, it really sounds like there's a very big issue here, and there's a lot of good reasons why we need to save the coral. So why is this happening? Why is the government letting this happen?
Well, in fact, they're not letting this happen. There are 3 set things I'm going to discuss with you today about how the government is changing coral bleaching for the better and trying to prevent it.
Great.
So the first law that they put into place was the Clean Water Act, and according to their website, the EPA created the Clean Water Act to reduce land-based sources of pollution that degrade coastal waters and coral reefs that live in them. So they created this to reduce pollution because pollution tends to kill the algae on top of the corals, which is a big deal because the corals tend to die when there's a lack of algae on them.
Well, I'm really glad there's some legislation that has been put in place.
Definitely.
That's great news.
The EPA is also actively engaged with the United States Coral Reef Task Force. So the EPA is actively engaged with the USCRTF to protect coral reef systems. It was established by the Executive Order 13089 and is co-chaired by the National Oceanic Atmospheric Administration and the Department of Interior, with regular participation from 12 different federal agencies.
Well, it really sounds like the government wants to protect this coral.
Indeed. And finally, the International Coral Reef Initiative, also found on the EPA website, talks about how the U.S. federal government is a member of the ICRI, which is a partnership between nations and organizations to, in fact, preserve coral reefs and ecosystems formed by them.
Wow, that is amazing. Boy, there's so many great things happening at the government level.
Well, there's a good thing that the government is educated on this issue because some people tend to claim the wrong facts or facts that aren't necessarily proven. So an argument that people tend to state about coral bleaching but don't exactly have all the facts is that coral bleaching can just be a sign that corals are starting to form resilience against the acidity, pollution, warming. This claim also states that corals are modifying their symbiotic partnerships with the algae, according to the site Landscapes and Cycles. So this website is stating that the symbiotic partnership, which is the relationship between the corals and the algae, is changing, and the corals are not using the algae or leaning on them as much, which is changing their adaptations.
Oh, but that is not true, right? We just have lots of contamination happening.
Yes. And the corals tend to die with a lack of algae. They don't tend to keep surviving unless the algae comes back and the water cools down or something happens.
Right. Well, I'm glad there's some measures put into place to hopefully help this issue.
Me too. So thank you for coming to Tori's Talk Show, and thank you so much for coming on.
You are very welcome. My pleasure.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.